I don't know what any of this shit is, and I'm fucking scared.
First, you're gonna tell me about this science stuff.
Sorry about that. What is a scientist?
You caught me like I'm experimenting with
Science!
It's like magic with electricity.
I know that. I'm not stupid. I'm smarter than you.
The smartest scientists in the entire world all agree
Science is a liar sometimes.
Seriously, this could not seem less scientific.
Those idiots don't know anything about science.
It's science.
I believe it's pronounced science.
This is the least scientific thing I've ever seen.
So I'm just experimenting with them.
You be quiet.
Thank you, scientist.
Just tweaking the knobs. Making sure all the knobs were good.
Are they in the right spot?
They are, well, they're always in the right spot. They're permanently affixed to that board. Hey-o.
Look out now.
Yeah, visual humor. What a great way to start off an audio podcast.
Yeah.
Speaking of which is under the guise of science, I am Charlie.
Hi, I'm Chris. And it's me.
I feel like there should be some kind of drinking game that has two sets of rules, and it depends on whether I say Charlie is my name or Charles is my name, because I do flip-flop, and I don't know the consistency of which. That's not a thing. Never mind.
I hope it's not too much of a stretch and those listening can figure it out.
Yeah.
You are, in fact, both.
Both of them. The duality of man, as they say.
Mm-hmm.
Old fucking Charlie Two Names over here. That's what they used to call me. This guy with his fucking two names. How about you? You got two names?
Kind of. I mean, if you if you count my last name is kind of a first name, right?
It is. It is, in fact.
That's what I've been told.
Fucking Chrissy Two Names.
Yeah, I like that. When people say, "Oh, never trust a man with two names," after I tell them my name, and I'm like, I'm still standing here. Like, it's kind of mean. You don't even know me. I'm introducing myself right off the bat. Maybe I don't trust you. For saying never trust somebody who says don't trust a man with two names. That's what I say.
Yeah, don't trust anybody. I feel like Stone Cold had it right.
That's what Stone Cold Steve Austin says. He's right.
I remember reading something about Undertaker. A quote that Undertaker had, or that said was, I think it was something like, "How are you supposed to trust a man whose motto is don't trust anyone?" Or something like that. I don't remember when that came up.
Right. Here's this back from the dead zombie who's letting you know he's the trustworthy one in all this.
The guy who claimed to be dead and is now alive again.
Yeah.
He's the whatever the metaphor is that I'm stretching for that I can no longer put together. He is that.
He is the golden boy.
There you are.
Yeah.
Sure. That works. I just want to preface this episode with there are two episodes. I don't remember what they are specifically. I think it's 24 and 28 or 29 that for some reason have like 7 total downloads.
Really?
Like, did I just do a bad job naming them? Like, why? Like, everything else is in the 30s.
Interesting.
Which I'm not bragging about it being in the 30s, but I'm just saying that the disparity.
Yeah,
so if you've listened to a bunch of episodes already, well, nobody knows that they suck. They haven't listened to them.
That's true. Yeah.
That's my 2 cents about that. So go ahead and listen to 23 and 24 and 28 and 29. Whichever one of those are still in single digit downloads, which you can't see. Folks,
if you listen to this and you didn't listen to the other ones, you're breaking all the rules. This is a sequential podcast. You have to listen to it in order. Everyone knows that. So
I feel like we established that pretty early on.
Yeah.
To address specific questions,
which you would have known if you listened to the earlier episodes. Yeah.
And those episodes all have some pretty good download counts.
Yeah.
By the way,
Even though-
episode. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say even episode 1, which in retrospect is not that good, has a ton of downloads. Yeah.
It's terrible, and it just got into triple digits.
Wow.
Yeah, episode 1 has 100+ downloads.
Oh, maybe that's the problem. Everyone's judging us on that one. Like you were good at anything the first time you did it. Shut up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just weird. I'm just happy that anybody's downloading stuff. Anytime it's like, all right, cool. The same 30 people more or less are listening.
Yeah, sorry for getting mad. That was unnecessary.
Actually, that's kind of like, I think that's your wheelhouse. Like you a little bit angry and a little bit annoyed. Like I was listening to the last episode today before I posted it 2 days late because I've been playing A Link to the Past, but I'll get to that in a minute. Just there is something magical about when you start talking about your kids. It's so fucking funny. It's a switch, and it's not mean. It's just like a general frustration. Like
it comes from a real place. It comes from a very real place.
Yeah, it's very authentic, and I was listening to it by myself in my empty home this afternoon, and just fucking howling. Just because I'd say something ridiculous and you'd be like, actually, here's an even more ridiculous thing. And I'd laugh a bunch. And they'd be like, well, then that's kind of like this, making a joke. And you'd be like, actually, other really ridiculous thing. It's like, wow.
Yep. In real life.
Their reality one-ups my insanity.
Yeah.
It's impressive.
Yeah, they're definitely pieces of work. We should dedicate an episode to Bianca. If I'll write down various quotes and things that she does and compile that into a very entertaining list about a sassy young lady.
She's like once a day. Lauren will bring Bianca up to me.
Nice.
She's like, did you see what she did now? I was like, yes, I did. And here's some more backstory because I get the inside scoop on these things. Yeah, they're a hoot.
That they are.
And
we gotta save this world for them, right? The children of the future, says Whitney Houston.
That's right.
Yeah.
She also said crack is good.
She did. You can't listen to everything she says. Yeah.
Just you gotta pick and choose. You gotta be a supermarket Whitney Houston fan.
Right. Yeah, there's early Whitney Houston. That's still, we didn't know Bobby Brown was involved. We didn't know about anything going on there. That's wholesome Whitney Houston.
Yeah, and he's still going.
Is he really?
Yeah.
All right.
Still alive, kicking. He's got the terrible junk jaw.
Oof.
Yeah, like whenever he's not talking, like he just
still going. Sorry, but still going alive. I knew, but I thought by still going. Do you mean like still in his old ways, or is he like clean now?
Oh, I have no idea. I can't imagine that he I haven't seen any. I have never seen or heard a sentence implying that Bobby Brown has cleaned up.
Okay.
And that doesn't mean that he hasn't.
Right.
Maybe he's playing it close to the leather vest with which he has no shirt on underneath. But yeah, he could be. For his sake, I hope he is. And part of me is like, nah, I hope he just goes balls to the wall to the fucking end. Let's see.
Right, either way.
Yeah, run this thing into the fucking rocks. Let's see how long a human can survive like this.
Whatever makes you happy, Bobby Brown.
Yeah. Oh, that took a weird turn.
Yeah. We were going to talk about climate change and somehow.
Yeah. I was like, yeah, I'm totally going to talk about playing Zelda too much. And nope, here we are talking about fucking Bobby Brown and his
Well, our hopes
indulgences.
for him, yeah, but our well wishes for Bobby Brown,
Yeah.
friend of the show.
Friend of the
He's a friend of the show because I just called it dibs.
It's like when there's Christian groups or certain churches will go to cemeteries and just baptize corpses.
Yeah,
Like same deal. Like that's what we're doing. We're just baptizing people, friends of the show, whether they like it or not.
yeah, they have no idea.
Yeah, and it's entirely up to them. If they want to come out and dispute that, which will be fine, we'll take the exposure.
I dare you.
Yeah, I dare you to say you're not a friend of the show, Bobby Brown.
Right.
How about that?
Call us out. Say the name. Just say the name of the show. I dare you.
Speaking of Bobbies, real quick before we get into our topic, I do want to get back to A Link to the Past. So, A Link to the Past, the Zelda game, first Zelda game on the Super Nintendo platform. I think the only Zelda game on the Super Nintendo platform, if I am not mistaken. I had
maybe the only main sequence game. They might have some bullshit.
Yeah.
But
I realized because I was looking to play video games. And my PS4 is still broken. And so I got the Switch going again. And just like anyone 40 and older, what do you do with the Switch? You go play Nintendo and Super Nintendo games.
Mm-hmm.
Which, number one, I love that half the library that you're given to choose from in the free selection is the obvious hits, like your Marios, your Zeldas, and things of that ilk. And then stuff that's entirely in Japanese. You have no idea what the game is, but you start it and be like, all right, I guess I'll figure out this game, I guess. Whatever the hell is going to happen. And then there's like a shoe that shoots fire into a pipe. And then you have to make a sandwich or some ridiculous combination of things.
I'm not familiar with that game.
I don't know if I might be conflating a two.
Right.
Two games. Second episode in a row we're using the word conflating. Getting it out of the way early this time.
Okay. That's why you got to stick to the classics, though. I don't blame you. Yeah.
But I realized I was looking around. And I was like, "Holy shit! I've never played and beat A Link to the Past by myself. I had never had Super Nintendo. I had friends who had Super Nintendo. Bob specifically, I probably played most of my Link to the Past with him. And it's funny, I had my gallbladder out last year, and I was off from work for a month, and I played the re-release of the 3DS game. I forget which one it is. I mean, Wind Waker or something like that. The one where there's a fish on top of Death Mountain, some shit like that. Anyways, it's funny. I played so much with him that I realized that as I'm bumping into stuff and like, cause I'm an idiot. Like I am clumsy as fuck in video games. I bump into shit that's like not even trying to attack me, like stationary things that you can take hits. And I get the anxiety doing it still in my 40s because I hear his voice in my head going, "Come on, stop getting fucking killed by bullshit. What are you doing?" Just scolding me for
PTSD,
not doing well.
Playing video games at Bob's.
Yeah. But the good thing about the Switch is you can do that whole thing where you press and hold down the top two buttons and you can just scroll back like 3 frames.
Oh, okay. Rewind time a little bit.
Yeah. And you know what? Like I said, I'm in my fucking 40s. I put my time in. I'm just going to play the game like that.
Yeah.
It's already. I already don't have enough time to be doing this. I'm already putting out episodes of podcasts late. I can't be putting out fucking.
Right.
I can't be
Start at
playing
the
by the
beginning.
rules. Yeah, fuck that. Which
I
accidentally. I had a. I'm not good at the navigating the controls and stuff like that. I'm not good at anything apparently so far, is what I'm telling you.
I just kind of hold the controller and smack it. Whatever happens, happens.
So I went to create a save point and accidentally hit load save point. So I couldn't rewind back. So I was like, all right, well, let me just reset this thing. And then I hit reset and I realized I wiped the whole thing. So the 3 days worth of shit that I did, I completely fucking wiped. But thankfully, there's like a backup cloud that I was able to find it. And
A safety net.
Oh, God, yeah, for dummies like me.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's been a real exciting day. A real exciting couple of days over here.
A lot of drama, a lot of tension.
Yeah, absolutely. But I'm doing it. I'm more than halfway through the game. It is exciting.
I'm happy to hear that. It's a fantastic game. Big fan of that game.
It's so good. It just comes right back to you, too, man.
Yeah.
Like, anything that I remember, it's like, oh, that's fucking right. I knew this would work.
Yeah. Excuse me.
Big plug for Nintendo right now. If you haven't played Nintendo, play Nintendo.
Mm-hmm. If you're not familiar with Nintendo, they're a company. You should check them out.
Weren't they a playing card company? If I'm not mistaken, I mean that's one of those like weird facts that I read in a clickbait article that
like originally before making whatever.
Yeah,
maybe.
Like in the early 1900s, they made playing cards.
Wow, I didn't even know they were around that long. Good on you, Nintendo.
Yeah, way to evolve. And like so anytime anyone was like, oh, I don't know how Nintendo's going to be able to keep up with this, it's like they've been around 100 years. They obviously know how to evolve somehow and adapt.
Yeah, don't you worry about Nintendo. Nintendo's going to be just fine. Don't worry about Nintendo.
Nintendo's going to be the last one standing.
Yeah. After we cook off our oceans.
Nice. There you go. I was trying to think of a way to do that. And you did it.
So I don't know that that's going to happen necessarily. So this is, I guess, a lot of conjecture. We're going by one article in particular. It's an article from Wired, and it lists like, it's a top 10 thing because top 10 things are easy to do on the podcast. So for anyone out there that's saying Wired is not a credible journalist, I don't know, nor do I care. We needed something to do for the show. So this is what we're going with. So that's not important.
And again, you're going to us for your information on science. So you're already shooting yourself in the foot out of the gate.
That is a valid point, yeah. But I think it's fair to say, regardless of your opinion on the cause, it's fair to say that the ocean is getting warmer. There's enough evidence that points to a rise in temperature, global temperature on average of the ocean over the past decade, 2 decades, however long it's been. Maybe probably even more than that since, we've been industrialized, I guess, and pumping shit into the atmosphere.
And like even just from an anecdotal standpoint, I definitely remember my birthday is in May, and I definitely remember being mad that the pool wasn't open by my birthday because it was warm enough and I got married in May 5 years ago, and it was like 61 degrees. And it's 2 days after my birthday, my wedding anniversary. And granted, the weather was kind of shitty that day to begin with, but like shorts weren't even a consideration anyway.
Right.
Like for what the weather is. And conversely, it's going to be 74 degrees tomorrow on October the 26th.
Yeah.
Which that used to be called like an Indian summer, which you'd get every now and again. But I feel like it's
not usually this late. Usually September is where they call it that.
Yeah. So last year I went to a beer festival the first weekend in November, and I wore shorts and flip-flops. The year before, I was in Madison, Wisconsin for the first weekend in November. And it was 63 degrees in Wisconsin in November.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it was fantastic. I couldn't have picked a better time.
Yeah. I mean, but even that, so that's kind of anecdotal. And Neil deGrasse Tyson did a thing on one of his shows with talking about climate versus weather. And he was saying climate is, picture a person walking down the beach and they have a dog on a leash. They're walking in a steady direction forward. The dog, meanwhile, is sniffing back and forth. It's checking things out. It's running around, but moving generally in the same direction as the person, even though it scatters along the way. So the person is kind of an analogy for the climate versus the dog being the weather. So the weather is going to fluctuate. Like, you get a cold day and people say, oh, I thought global warming, blah, blah, blah. It's like stupid stuff like that. No, the weather is still fluctuating. There's weather patterns. There's pressure systems. There's the jet stream gets weaker and all that good stuff. The evidence is more about the temperature of the ocean and the measure of things in the atmosphere. Like we're currently number one on this list is there's more carbon dioxide in the atmosphere than at any time in recorded human history. So
now, how are they able to tell how much carbon dioxide there is in the atmosphere?
There's an observatory that does it. I don't really know the ins and outs of what they do, to be honest with you. This is one of those you can stick your head in the bull's ass. Wouldn't you rather get the butcher's word for it kind of situations?
God damn it. I got to go back because I feel like we came up with a new version of that saying like 10 or 15 episodes ago.
Oh, really? Damn it.
Yeah. Either that or we just butchered that butcher saying. I don't.
It's got to be your bowl. So apparently, however they do it, they're checking average global concentration in parts per million. I don't know if they're like just grabbing the air and sticking it, and I don't know. I don't know how they do it. They have to have some kind of instruments, I guess, right?
I like yours better. Like they take a bag and then they just breathe it in and just. There wasn't any oxygen in that. That was all carbon dioxide. This is bullshit.
No, did you ever hear about them carbon dioxide lakes? There's this lake in Africa where actually now with these lakes, they stick big tubes in the ground so that this shit can leak out. But there's volcanic activity underneath and carbon gases slowly build up underneath. And it gets to a certain point that it can bubble up and then break the surface and be this giant bubble of carbon dioxide. And there was at one point in history, I don't remember when it was. I'm just remembering reading the article. I have to try to find it and link it again. Mm-hmm. But this bubble happened at some lake in Africa and moved into a village and everybody suffocated.
Holy shit.
Just like all of a sudden the air did not have oxygen. Like it's insane.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's just from that, like just bubble breaking the surface and just getting out.
It was like a lake burp.
Oh man, that's making me think of Last Action Hero, if you recall that movie when the mob guy Leo the Fart, they put a bomb inside him, but Jack Slater was able to get him into the La Brea tar pits.
Right.
And the bomb went off under there and just
bloop.
Yeah. Leo the Fart broke wind one last time, as they said.
But
hey yo. One of my favorite things about that movie is how heavily involved Schwarzenegger was in creating it.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And so any of his awful jokes that he makes, like in Predator when he kicks the door in and shoots the guy with a grenade launcher and then says knock knock, and then he throws a knife and sticks the guy to the wall and goes stick around. Like those are all him. He wanted the corny fucking puns as he killed somebody. Like there's some in all of his early movies. So
yeah.
I believe he was heavily involved with all his ice puns as Mr. Freeze.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, so just wall to wall, very in on it, ridiculously corny jokes in Last Action Hero was very much him being involved as an executive producer.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, he has a pretty good sense of humor about himself. I'll give him that.
I guess you can be. Like, I've said that before. Like, the most badass, like real badass people are always just so nice. Like Mark Henry's the perfect example. Like if you walked up to Mark, unless you were blatantly disrespectful, and even then he would just kind of like say you're being disrespectful and try to brush it off. He still wouldn't like attack you like somebody who was insecure would, just because he knows you're really not a threat. There's not unless you have a weapon, you're not a threat to him. So he can afford to be nice. So I guess at the same level, Arnold knows, like, yeah, look at the size of him. Especially back in like 85, Arnold.
Yeah. Like fresh off of Mr. Olympia.
Yeah.
Schwarzenegger. He was one of the biggest fans of the Hans and Franz sketch on SNL.
Yeah.
He loved it. He thought it was hilarious. And Conan O'Brien, Robert Smigel, and Dana Carvey and Kevin Nealon wrote a Hans and Franz script that Schwarzenegger was heavily featured in the second act, and Schwarzenegger loved it. He was absolutely, I will do this movie, and they just weren't able to get it off the ground for whatever reason. Yeah, like you were just saying. It's like, I'm not threatened by you. I'm not threatened by any of you. You can say whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah, it's like going into a kindergarten. You go down to their level almost.
Yeah. You tell them it's not a tumor.
Right. Case in point, yeah. Who's your daddy and what does he do? Yeah. So anyway.
So yeah, carbon dioxide lake.
Well, I mean, and that's just an example of, like, the Earth does this naturally. We've talked about the carbon cycle before. We've talked about the disasters that the Earth has faced due to the carbon cycle getting thrown off. And it's not a short-term thing.
Just for let's pretend that there's a slight chance that some of our listeners, or possibly your co-host, doesn't remember what the carbon cycle is. So if you could just do a quick refresher of that one.
Sure. So the carbon cycle, due to plate tectonics, due to I guess mostly plate tectonics and geological activity and stuff like that. It's just, we have a lot of carbon in the atmosphere. It gets absorbed into the rocks. The rocks then get recycled into, like, they get melted down and spewed back out, and the carbon gets spewed back out through volcanic activity and through vents and things like that. So carbon doesn't get trapped the way it would on other, like on Venus. The planet of Venus doesn't have plate tectonics. So once the rocks have absorbed as much carbon as they can, now it just piles up in the atmosphere, and they get that runaway greenhouse effect. So the fact that happens here on Earth and keeps us at a pretty consistent level of CO2 in the atmosphere, which helps keep some of the warmth from the sun in, but not all of it.
All right.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. Now that all sounds familiar.
Yeah. So like in the case of the Great Dying, that was the Permian Triassic extinction level event, the worst that we've seen as far as setting life back and wiping out different species and all that kind of stuff. I think that was, volcanic activity that happened over millions of years and stuff like that, or I forget how long it was, but it was a crazy amount of volcanoes over a long amount of time, and just overflowed flooded the atmosphere with all that carbon gas and methane and stuff like that as well. So I think it took the Earth like 10 million years to recover from it. Like as far as the geological record goes, looking at the various rocks from then, just the saturation of carbon in the rocks and in the atmosphere and everything it didn't come back for 10 million years. It's a long chunk of time.
And that's how they're so in the saturation of the carbon in the rocks is how they're able to tell what carbon was like, what the carbon concentration was like millions of years ago, like that. Okay.
Yep. Yeah, and going by the layers and stuff like that. So, I mean, and that's another thing to keep in mind when they talk about the carbon levels in the atmosphere now, like where there was a set agreement, the Paris Agreement I'm looking at here. It says in 2015, the Paris Agreement set a target to keep global warming below 1.5 degrees Celsius. So the way that we're going now, we're actually headed past that. And it's not the kind of thing that, like, even if we did keep it below that, the effects are it's still rolling kind of. It takes a long time for it to come to a stop and reverse because we're talking about the climate in general. But I mean, even some of the predictions, you can't be, I don't know, like, oh my God, doom and gloom kind of, because there was predictions way back when that the Earth, that we were going to be in that chain reaction state, but the Earth kind of adapted and, believe it or not, started to absorb more carbon as far as the vegetation and stuff like that goes. Somewhat, we're still headed in that global warming direction, but the fact that it was able to do that and kind of slow down predictions, I guess, is something to keep in mind, because the Earth is a biological system of itself. It tries to evolve along with everything that's going on, but you know, we're still, if we're headed down that path and we get over that point, it might get to the point where things will be uncomfortable for a bit before we can kind of reverse it back the other way.
Yeesh.
Yeah. And even reversing back the other way, like I know, and this is one of those things that sadly has been politicized, where one side of the aisle believes that it's phony or that this always happens and it's not a big deal, and the other side of the aisle thinks that this is, we need to completely flip and go green today. If we were to do that, like obviously the first side that I'm talking about, that they're idiots. This is obviously real. It's in the data. But the other side that wants to stop and go green today, the problem with that is, like I was just saying, the Earth has evolved to work with the amount of carbon that's in the atmosphere right now. It's used to a certain amount. If we cut it and went green today, what we're working with would kind of get suck more. I don't want to say suck. I guess that's not the right word for it, but there would be less carbon and the Earth would be used to functioning with more. So we could go the other way where we cool it too much because we kind of pulled the blanket off too quick in a way. So it's a delicate balance, and we're fucking with it is the bottom line.
Yeah.
It's bigger than politics. It's bigger than all that.
And I think the problem with either side is just like everything else. It's just go to the extreme.
Yeah.
And no mediation, no middle ground, no, hey, let's compromise. But yeah.
Yeah, it'd be nice if both sides said, we're going to shut up and listen to the consensus of scientists
and not pay our own scientists to
give
us the information.
Dispute that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, some kind of independent scientist group that could get. We did that once. We've said that. I don't know if we've said that. Maybe I heard it somewhere before. But like the Manhattan Project, where they brought in how many different specialists from how many different fields and kind of put them in a room together, or at least got them in correspondence with each other, and they all work together. I feel like so many disciplines now almost work in silos, and there isn't really that cross communication, or at least there wasn't. Maybe it's starting a little bit, but that's where the best ideas come from, probably.
Like, just get the best of the best. Each side gets to put in whatever amount of money they want. and then the best of the best just share that money. And this way,
Yeah.
so nobody's getting bribed. But perfect world, obviously.
When somebody's getting funded, that'd be nice. And this is where, spinning on a tangent, but where the fuck are the Musks and the Gates and the Bezos and all these? Like, where are they? Because this would be the thing if you're going to pump billions into something. If this is such a big deal, let's get some funding for what are we going to do about this? Or like fossil fuel companies, why wouldn't they be on the cutting edge of trying to get some kind of clean energy and set up a transition period where we're going to start slowly transitioning from one to the other? And there's got to be ways. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm a dreamer. Again, I mean, I think we solved it if we just give up on the beach and use tidal energy to power everything. Everyone would be better off.
It would be so great. How ridiculous would it be to have this podcast blow up to the point that in 30 years, you and I are on opposite sides of the aisle, pro beach and anti beach. That's what politics is boiled down to.
But it's fun. That's your only argument.
It's fun. No, it isn't, and that's just it's just that back and forth.
It's not fun at all.
I had a great time. I did not. I too had a great time because I stayed home.
Yeah. Up until it was starting to sound like a Dr. Seuss novel.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Is that the Sneetches?
Yeah.
The star-bellied
I have a blue
Sneetches?
shirt. Well, mine is red.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you're different than me. One of my favorite Dr. Seuss. Sorry, Dr. Seuss
no,
stories.
you go first. Much better.
There's one about a pair of pants. Right, it's just a pair of pants, and there's I know I'm not making this up. I know I'm not. I at least I hope I'm not. But like there was just a pair of pants walking, and a guy was afraid of a pair of pants, and then they found out they were both afraid of each other. I think the moral is to like don't just necessarily be afraid of something different that you don't understand, kind of thing.
That's a terrible moral when it comes to walking pants. You should definitely be afraid of pants that are walking on their own. Get the fuck out of there.
Because even if they're not alone, there's somebody invisible in there, and they could do anything.
Yeah, exactly. There's something not right with that situation. Yeah, like I don't know if you want to make it like a black kid and a white kid, sure. Then don't be afraid of that's just like you on the inside. But what invisible pants or whatever are not like you at all on the inside. They don't care about you or your family.
The pants you're wearing are just like you on their inside because you are inside those pants.
Yeah.
But invisible person pants. I am already. I don't know.
Or animated pants. Yeah. Is that like remember the ghost at the ghost dogs at the haunted mansion, like the dog leash that there's nothing inside, but it looks like you're walking it.
Yeah. That's you just reminded me of a thing. There's a documentary about the Bloods and the Crips, directed by Stacy Peralta of Power Peralta skateboard fame, and it's so starching your pants after you've ironed the creases into them is big in the gang culture, or at least was in the 90s. But they had one gang member they were interviewing, and they were like, he's like, what you know about a pair of pants that's got so much starch in them that they stand up on their own in the corner, and then they show a Polaroid of a pair of pants just standing up because that's how much jeans. That's how much starch they sprayed onto them. Like,
damn,
that,
how do you walk in those?
right? That can't be comfortable.
Yeah. I guess it's a sign of badassery.
Look how uncomfortable my clothes are. Don't fuck with me.
I'm having like the Bloods and the Crips spend a lot of time ironing. Apparently,
Yeah, that's a thing.
yeah,
That is not something that I made up or anyone is making up.
Not judging. Don't
Absolutely. Yeah, we are.
shoot me.
We are pro leaving you alone with doing whatever you're doing as long as.
Yep.
Yeah.
Done it my whole life. We used to have to run down Henderson Avenue, right through all in blue because that was our high school colors. Right past the projects where the Bloods were in the news for stabbing people, to go run the track there. All in blue. Yeah, that was fun. I know they weren't going to come after us, but as a high school kid, I didn't know they were going to come after us. So
yeah, you don't not know that they're going to come after you.
yeah. In retrospect, it was stupid, but at the time, I was shitting my pants.
Was that Goodhue? Is that the
No, there was across from the Broadway, Broadway in Henderson down that way.
Oh, you mean like 3 blocks from where I lived? Yes, I know that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was right over there.
Yeah, those homes down that way. And there was that little track across from the bodega.
Well, you brought up the Berry homes last podcast, so I'm going to bring up the Markham homes. Say housing project near where I lived.
Isn't that great?
Mm-hmm. How relatable.
Yeah.
How relatable to whoever the hell is listening to us in New Mexico. 13 downloads in New Mexico.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah, like I'm not gonna
shout out New Mexico.
Fine, I'll reuse the Ohio VPN joke that I used a couple of months back. But yeah, who's pretending to be from New Mexico?
All I know about New Mexico is Breaking Bad. So I guess are there projects in New Mexico also? Or is it just trailer parks?
Ooh, probably a little bit of both. Probably a little bit of both.
That's another interesting thing that you don't realize is like when you move from one area to another and you're used to the rough neighborhoods looking a certain way, and then you move to another place and it's like, I remember that when we're moving from Staten Island to Massachusetts, like a suburb of Worcester, and it was like, Amanda was like, I don't know about this place. It's like the signs are there. I was like, no, trust me, this is not a good neighborhood. Like broken down pickups instead of broken down, I don't know, Honda Civics. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like slightly,
Yeah, it's there's familiar things.
Right.
You just gotta figure out the how it translates, kind of thing. But yeah, like same with moving moving from Staten Island to Nassau County, Western Long Island. It's pretty similar because you're still right near the city, but moving to Suffolk County, Eastern Long Island, it's like I'd never been near a trailer park as far as I knew. I think there might have been one on Staten Island, but there's a few out here. And they're
a different area to stay away from.
Yeah.
All right.
So yeah, how the fuck did we end up here?
I don't know. We're kind of mailing this one in. I don't know if, if you guys noticed. We don't know a lot about.
I like that we're not even phoning it in, because phoning it in implies at least we're kind of involved. But mailing it in is just like, you deal with this a few days later.
Yeah. I think we're still doing all right, though.
Yeah, I thought so. Plenty of movie talk. Standard science podcast from us.
But here's the thing. So I'm skipping ahead because number 2 and 3 are basically the same thing. It's just complaining. But number 4, I didn't even realize this. Extreme heat events have become more frequent and severe. So, for example, the wildfires in Canada and Hawaii recently. There was the evacuation of tourists from Greece. Apparently, July of this year was the hottest month in history.
Wow.
On record, yeah.
On Earth, right? Like that's on the planet as a whole, or
I guess since people have been counting, yeah.
But I mean, like it's not one specific area. Like the planet as a whole, this was the hottest
Average
month
yeah.
average on Earth in recorded history.
Yes.
Which is hilarious. The air conditioner at my job broke July 3rd. And it took about 10 days to get a new one because everybody was out of air conditioners.
Perfect time. Yeah, that's exactly the worst time for it to go.
Yeah.
That's when they can bend you over a barrel about fixing it too. Oh, turns out labor this week is $150 an hour. Shit.
But yeah, it was definitely hot as fuck outside in July.
Mm-hmm.
I can attest to that.
Yeah. But also more rainy too. There's been, that leads to more heat is more activity with the ocean and the evaporation and that whole cycle. So you just get more frequent weather events. They're more severe. I've noticed that in my lifetime that the hurricanes have been getting more frequent and more severe. Like every year, something is wiping out somewhere.
Yeah, and hurricanes are starting to do wild shit. Like a hurricane made it all the way to the West Coast.
Yeah.
Last month. That's crazy. That should never happen. Like the only time the West Coast got fucked up by big heavy rain events was El Nino type shit, because that comes out of like the Pacific.
And that's going on this year too. So that kind of influences things, but yeah, that's weather versus climate. Like El Nino, we get those from time to time.
Yeah, so the weather is a result of the climate.
Right. Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, the climate, I guess, is kind of like is the frame lowest to highest, like the bell curve was that standard distribution deviation kind of that thing.
So what along. I guess the best way to figure this out is do we have to start measuring the storms in how many Manhattans it would be for when a storm makes landfall? It would be the equivalent of like 31 Manhattans hitting the beach in that specific area.
No, I think they usually measure that in Puerto Rico is how much damage it does.
Oh, shit. That was a good joke.
We'll see how that goes.
Yeah, we'll see how I feel about that. It would have been hilarious if you immediately like, that doesn't make sense, stupid. Manhattans are a physics measurement, you idiot. Not
right. Everyone knows, wrong island.
Yeah, not a meteorological.
Yeah. I didn't do it. Whatever, Puerto Rico. Get over it.
Don't worry. Just somebody will throw them some rolls of fucking paper towels.
Toilet paper.
Paper
Towels.
Yeah, they'll be fine. They'll be fine.
My favorite thing about Donald Trump is that he stands like the front half of a centaur.
Oh, shit.
I don't know how he does the lean like that and not fall over. It looks like there should be the horse's back connected to him.
Is that your joke?
No, that's a meme. That's
okay.
an internet meme. Yeah. Right. That belongs to the internet.
I was gonna say we we need to sit and write more jokes then. If you're coming up with that's fucking A+.
Yeah, no, I cannot take credit for that.
That's so good. Oof, man, face hurts. It's killing me. Am I correct?
Ew.
Yes. So where are we at in our in our thing we've barely touched on?
So apparently sea levels are rising faster today than ever before. Since 1900, sea levels have risen faster than any preceding century in at least the past 3,000 years, and it looks like it's going to continue. Over the past 140 years, they have risen worldwide 21 to 24 centimeters. But roughly half of that, about 10 centimeters, has taken place since 1992. So that's kind of
so what was the first number you said there?
Over 140 years,
Uh-huh.
it increased 21 to 24 centimeters. But 10 of those centimeters were just since 92.
In the last 30
years. Yeah. Yep.
So the last 25% of that or 30% of that of that amount of time has been half of the raise in the sea level. If I could make that number a little bit more confusing. I read a video. Jesus Christ. Have not had that much to drink tonight either. Jesus Christmas. I watched a Neil deGrasse Tyson video.
I watched the book. Sorry.
He was talking about why water levels go down during ice ages, and it's because the water that gets evaporated from the ocean goes into the clouds, turns into snow, falls on land, and then just freezes on land and doesn't leave there. Yeah. So the fact that there's an argument about sea levels rising, that's pretty straightforward common sense, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Like, if it's too hot to stay snow and ice, it's gonna go into the ocean where water is.
Right, and actually, the ice in the poles in the Arctic Sea and stuff is actually diminishing. It's reached its lowest levels since at least 1850, smaller than any time over the past 1,000 years or so. So yeah, that it goes hand in hand. Exactly that. The ice is melting. It's got to go somewhere. It goes into the ocean. The ocean goes up.
Yeah, that seems pretty easy to grasp.
Yeah.
If you're actively willing to grasp it.
Yeah.
Sidebar into me very strongly believing into human civilization has been reset at least once or twice. There is a map. It's called the Peer-Reese map, and it is believed to be an amalgamation of several other older maps, but it was drawn in, I think, the 14th or 15th century, and it has the entire coastline of Antarctica drawn out. And we did not have the technology to map it under ice until about 100 years ago. And that map very closely lines up with what the sonar or the whatever they used to measure or look at what the ice, look at what the land looks like underneath the ice of Antarctica. Mm-hmm. So either it wasn't covered in ice. It not being covered in ice is way more is probably what is way more likely rather than having a super advanced civilization that has technology of 100 years ago.
Yeah, and how old is this map, or how old are these maps?
The specific map that's being referred to, again, I don't know if I'm saying it right, the Purice map or however it's said, is believed to have been drawn in the 14th or 15th century.
Oh, wow.
Where other maps...
So it's only a couple hundred years, yeah.
Yeah, and other maps after that, Antarctica is not drawn on there at all because it was not technically discovered. So there are maps that are older than newer old maps that have Antarctica with an accurate coastline, while we didn't have the technology to map it under the ice until 100 years ago.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
I have to look up this shit. What damn.
Fingerprint of the Gods by Graham Hancock. I'll let you borrow the book.
Okay.
It's a nice read.
Yeah, because I wonder, like, a couple hundred years ago, where was the sea level? Because if there was no ice there, you would think it would be higher or something.
Well, that also, the sea level being at a different height, there's a landmass that is underwater that is off the coast of Ireland, which people speculate is that quote unquote Atlantis.
Oh, yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah.
I've heard that about Atlantis, about Crete in particular, but the Mediterranean, there were periods where the land or the strait between, I guess it's the Strait of Gibraltar, right, between Spain and Morocco was actually closed, and the Mediterranean drained, and there were periods where that was empty and then opened up and got rapidly filled up, and like that, the Mediterranean Sea has undergone a couple different drainings and fillings of, in relatively quick periods of time, which would have been catastrophic for any islands or anything going on there.
Yeah, definitely. If you're on an island and the sea level rises 30 feet in 100 years, you're fucked. Anybody on the coastline, especially if it's relatively level. Well, we very quickly went from one alleged conspiracy to one other more likely conspiracy, but maybe not.
Yeah, that's very interesting.
But yeah, that all and this is more grasping at straws, but like the maps that other map is made from, because that was common, is like people who made maps would take all their maps and try to like put them all together and try to draw one bigger map.
Yeah.
And allegedly all from the Library of Alexandria.
Tragedy.
Yeah. Pieces of shit just burning things.
Yeah. Post them out for the Library of Alexandria. We could have known some shit.
Yep.
Anyway.
Yeah, so where are we at with this climate change?
So climate's been changing. Here's one of the things, for the first time in decades, world hunger is increasing. So starting to see the effects of this kind of thing, because droughts and heat waves, they affect our yearly crop yields. And, some crops may be less nutritional in some cases. I mean, when we're talking about excessive rain events, there's flooding. I know we had some of that here, where some of the fields were flooded. Depending on what you're growing, that could be, could wipe out everything. So, I mean, this type of thing, and average wildlife populations have dropped by 60%. So again, you start fucking with the carbon cycle, it just disrupts the food chain. And even in the case of like the dinosaurs dying, yes, the asteroid killed a lot of things on impact in that immediate vicinity, but it was the damage that it did over time that now it blocked out the sun, killed the plants, and knocked the food chain out from the bottom rung. and it was only, the little things that can survive. I think we're one of the larger animals, I guess. So that type of thing would be catastrophic for us. I mean, we could do our best, but technology can only help so much. The energy has to come from somewhere.
And that's like for a global catastrophe, a global extinction I'm going to get this on the third try. Global extinction catastrophe event would, like, everybody dying and everything dying within a day or two is a fantasy. You would hope it would go that quick, but no, it's going to be a slow, drawn out, painful suffocation, starvation type thing.
Yeah. It's the kind of thing that future geologists, of whether they're human or whatever species comes next, can look back at the rocks and go, there's a weird period here where over the course of about 500,000 years or 1,000,000 years, the carbon levels increased for some reason. It's kind of strange. And there's only a couple records of this large ape with with starched genes that's showing up at just this small period. I wonder if the two were related. Because those shits would last. It's going to be bones and the starch genes.
There appears to have been some type of bipedal organism that this appears to be some type of a suit of armor. It's almost impenetrable. It doesn't appear to be.
But it's only the lower half. It seems to only cover half of these.
Is starch bulletproof, or at least knife proof? Is that the purpose?
I don't know. Maybe enough of it is. A layer of starch so thick it reflects the sun.
Imagine that. It just made it so shiny that they show up and they're ready to pull guns on each other. And then the guy with the shiny pants goes, "Now!" And guys on either side pull out flashlights and shine them at on an angle. And it just blinds everybody in front of him.
Braveheart strategies and shit.
Old.
Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of, I guess, I mean, for climate change deniers, I think it's fairly ridiculous to deny that it's a real thing. It may not be as political as everyone's making it to be, but the data clearly supports that the oceans are getting warmer, the CO2 levels are going up, and we probably should do something. I don't think we can abandon ship and everybody switches to electric cars tomorrow. And that's another thing. Electric cars, you're plugging yourself into a coal plant somewhere. Basically, you're just
right,
not doing it right here.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, I don't have the answer. I don't. I'm just saying that it's real, and it's not something to politicize because this is all we got.
Yeah, and the other, let's just even say, let me just entertain the idea. Let's fully believe for a moment that, yeah, this happens. The world does this cyclically. How long are these cycles? Tens of thousands of years on the low end, right?
Yeah.
How long has this civilization been a thing? This current type of civilization situation we're in right now. 150 years tops.
Yeah. As far as us doing the shit that we industrialized and all that. Yeah.
So you you can't just, it'll correct itself. Yeah. Long after all of us are dead, it'll correct itself. and figure it
Yeah,
out.
that's the Earth will be fine.
Yes.
The Earth will go right along, chug right along. It's us. We are now. I wouldn't say we're specialists, but we're definitely not generalists. Like we're not like, after every extinction level event, the specialists are the things that have the biggest trouble surviving because, like, if there's a certain type of food source that they depend on and that gets disrupted, they're in rough shape. It's usually the scavengers, the things that can adapt and kind of prey a little, not even prey, but feed a little bit on everything, kind of survive in every corner that make it past the extinction level event and become the rise of whatever comes next. We go to supermarkets. Like we are fucked if anything gets shaken up. Like we're past specialists to the point that we removed ourselves from the food chain. Like if something goes down and a cattle farm is not producing like it used to, there go burgers, there go steaks, and I don't know, like everything. Like I remember driving past the Dole pineapple farm in Hawaii, and it was like acres as far as the eye can see as you go through this. Like imagine that got screwed up. Like how much does that supply the population of humans in general?
Yeah, and even like the planet on a whole probably be okay without pineapples, but Hawaii,
oh yeah,
without,
be a little sadder, but get by.
It'd be a little bit less delicious, but the Earth as a whole would get by. But fucking Hawaii would be screwed.
Yeah, devastated.
Yeah, it would, like, as terrible as it is in Maui right now. Like if all the pineapple crops are just gone tomorrow, like that's a huge resource. That's probably one of their biggest exports.
Yeah, it's like that, and tourism keeps them afloat. And coconuts, I guess.
Coconuts do float too. I've seen it.
Oh.
At least cartoons would have me believe that anyway, which is where that is most of my knowledge pool.
I know from Mitch Hedberg that lemons and limes float, saved by the buoyancy of citrus.
I forget who was telling me, but I hear that limes sink and lemons float.
Huh.
Yeah. I mean, not that I'm going to dispute a Mitch Hedberg joke. It's gospel as far as I'm concerned.
I've never checked. Just took Mitch's word for
it. Man, I should have just said yeah.
Yeah. And he was admittedly on a lot of drugs. One of a good Mitch Hedberg joke. Every time I say a Mitch Hedberg joke, it's one of my favorites because they're all incredible. But when he's saying, he goes, I might get in trouble for this one, but I like the FedEx driver because they're a drug dealer and they don't even know it.
I like that one. I love that. It goes right along with it. I used to do drugs. I still do drugs, but I also used to too. David Tell has a similar joke. It's different enough. He says, I used to do a lot of drugs, but that was way over there.
God bless him for continuing going.
Yeah, David Tell has been sober for quite some time now.
Nice.
Yeah, he still smokes hundreds of cigarettes a day, probably.
Oh, yeah.
But
do something, right?
But
because he was a fucking maniac.
He is. He has, like, comedians getting to the point where he trusts them, like trusts their opinion. It's one of the funniest things in the world. Like, I forget, it was either Dan Soder or Mark Normand talking about getting to the point with Attell, where Attell would call you up and just run premises by you. It would be like, hey, you know anybody doing any jokes like these? And then he'll just rattle off a bunch of shit. think it was Dan Soder. And,
Uh-huh.
and just super excited to get the phone call. And Attell starts telling him things. And Dan Soder started like suggesting, like throwing him like line ideas. And Attell very quickly was like, no, this isn't what this is. I'm not asking you for how to make the joke funnier. I'm asking you if anyone else is doing this so I can scrap this premise. And then like he's talking about the next few days, just like, oh my God, what did I do? Attell's never going to like me again. And he's fine.
Yeah, you did all right.
Yeah, so don't you go changing climate, right? I guess is what we're getting at.
Yeah, I guess this was just kind of it's real. Watch your footprint or something.
Yeah, or
be the change that you want to see in the climate.
Acknowledge that it's a thing, and don't be such a cunt when negotiating about it. That's all.
I agree.
Compromise.
Right.
Stop getting bribed by every fucking company that'll give you billions of dollars, which I get is super easy to say from here because I'm not getting bribed billions of dollars.
Yeah. I will promise this. If I'm ever paid to go somewhere and give a talk on climate, I'm not going to get there via private jet.
Yeah.
Because I feel like, the people that do that, it's like, you could be making a change where someone will pay attention to this and take it seriously, but you wasted so much fucking fuel to get there, and now everybody that's contrary to that is just going to point that out and pop your whole fucking argument.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fucking
finger on the pulse. Pay attention.
Optics. Be aware of your optics. Yeah. And I forget which show I just watched. It might have been Succession. That optics is now suddenly in my vernacular.
AOC, let's do it. We can get this done, but you got to scale it back. Trust me. Make this work.
Oh, man. Yeah. All right. I guess that's a good place to stop as any. Unless you got any more video game stories you want to tell real quick.
The Legend of Zelda 2, The Adventures of Link, gets a bum rap because it was so friggin' hard. But in this day and age, now that you have emulators and you can save it and you can rewind time and stuff like that, totally worth it.
I think that will be next because I've maybe played that 3 or 4 times tops. Didn't ever have my own copy of it.
Okay.
So,
it's fun. So it's like the overhead Zelda view, but then you get into like a random fight with something. It goes into Mario view.
Yeah, like it gets side scrolly. Like I remember playing it at a friend's house when I was like 6 or 7 and being like, whoa, why is this like Castlevania all of a sudden?
Yeah. And I think it was not supposed to be a Zelda game, and they kind of shoehorned Zelda themes into it because even the last boss is like Firebird or something, and then you got to fight the shadow version of you. There is no Ganon at all, but when you die, it says Ganon wins again. I don't know.
So he never... That I knew is that he never shows up in the game, but they just put in like a title card of Ganon wins again.
Yeah, Ganon wins again, continue, restart, exit.
Oh, man. So I like that they brought back the shadow version of Link. I know that definitely shows up in Ocarina of Time. I remember that.
Yeah, they bring that back all the time.
That was definitely one of the hits to come out of that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's after I'm done spending every free moment I have playing Link to the Past.
You earned it. Good
Thank
for you.
I thought so.
It's like Bobby Brown. I hope the best for you. I just want you to be happy.
Under the Guise of Science on Facebook, on Instagram. And there is one more that I say that I don't. Oh, at Gmail. There we go.
Yeah.
Guys always spelled Guise.
It's correct. Under the Guise of Science on YouTube, Under the Guise of Science on TikTok, at Science Guys on X, and listen to Far Bar.
Fuck yeah. Until next time, all of you fuckers.